Before we start with the stories, thank you for tuning in. I'm working my way to putting up videos every single day, so please like and subscribe. It really keeps me going. Thank you guys. And make sure to put out the lights. Here we go. I never thought I'd become a preschool teacher. It wasn't really in the books for me, but I had no choice but to take the job 6 years ago. However, there's one thing I learned really early. 4-year-olds will lie about literally everything. Like they'll swear they brushed their teeth with a toy fire truck, no problem. But when 3 of them, on completely different sides of the room, say the exact same name without talking to each other first, you know that's not a lie. So every Friday, I'd line my class up against this mural wall and snap a group photo to send home to the parents. Been doing it since September. It was never once an issue. Then one Friday in November, I had 15 kids in class. And I know it's 15 because it's basically muscle memory at this point. 15 on the rug, 15 cubbies, 15 coats on the hooks. But when the photos came back from the print shop about a week later, there were 16 kids in the picture. There was an extra kid in the back row, standing right where my tallest kid usually stands. He had dark hair, a plain white shirt, and there was this stillness to him that none of the other kids have. Everybody else is mid-blink, mid-laugh, whatever, the way little kids always look in photos. This kid's just still. I figured it was some glitch and didn't think twice about it. Then Monday rolls around, and I make the mistake of holding the photo up during circle time and going, "Hey, does anyone know who this is?" I was expecting blank stares, but I got the total opposite. Before I even finished the sentence, one of the girls said his name, and then 2 more kids said the same name within seconds. So I asked, "How do you guys know him?" And all 3 say the same thing. He only comes on picture day. I laughed it off in front of them because, that's the job. But then I went straight to the office and pulled every record we had. Current roster, 3 years of old rosters, sibling sign-in logs. The name is nowhere. He has never enrolled, never visited, nothing. I thought about it every day after work, and a few days later I was digging through the supply closet, which has been there since before the last renovation. Nobody's ever bothered replacing it. I ducked down to grab something off the bottom shelf, and I see it. Spray painted on the underside of the shelf, but still readable if you tilt your head. It's the boy's exact name. I just sat down on that closet floor for a while. Another teacher found me in there and asked if I was okay, and I told her I dropped something. I don't think she bought it. The little boy's probably not a bad ghost, whatever that means, but it's almost like I can feel his presence now. The kids talk about him sometimes. In fact, I still do the Friday photos, but every once in a while, when they ask me about him, I just say, "Yeah, he's around here somewhere." My childhood was fun. Really fun. I had really great parents, bless their souls, and I barely had any scarring events in those years. Well, except this one. When I was about 10 years old, I used to wake up screaming from the same nightmare every single night. There'd be a woman in black standing at the foot of my bed, long nails, just staring at me. My mom would come running in and find me pointing at what looked like an empty corner to her, screaming my head off. And she'd say, "There's nobody there, baby. Go back to sleep." But I could hear her breathing. I know I could. This went on for months. Then one night, it's a different figure instead, a little girl standing near my closet. She tells me calmly that her name's Amy and that she's going to stick around until I'm brave enough to stop being scared of the woman in black. And after that night, the woman never came back. It just stopped. I grew up, forgot about most of it, and whenever my parents remembered, they just laughed about it. Fast forward to my 20s. I'm dating this guy, things get serious, and he finally takes me to meet his parents. Nice house, everybody's a little nervous, the usual. His dad's name is Bill, but his mom comes around the corner, pulls me into this hug like she's known me forever, and says how nice it is to finally meet me. Her name is Amy. I didn't think anything of it at first. Common name, whatever, coincidence. Then she pulls back from the hug, still holding my hands, and just goes out of nowhere. You know, when I was a kid, I had an imaginary friend named Shannon. My name is Shannon. I just stood there in her kitchen and didn't say a single word for a long while. My boyfriend, now my husband, just laughs it off, goes, "Isn't that funny? Small world." Completely oblivious to what he just set off in my brain. He still doesn't fully get why I went quiet for the rest of that dinner. I never told her about the woman in black. Never told her about the little girl who said we'd meet again when I was older. I just sat there, doing math in my head, and it still didn't add up. Was she seeing some future version of me before I was even born? Was I seeing a past version of her, decades early? I married into that family, and I knew in my heart that I was in the right place. In all my years working with special needs kids, I've had them surprise me many times over. There seems to be so much more to them than their disabilities, and I would choose that career again in a heartbeat. But this story is about one student in particular. He had been the same predictable, easygoing kid all year long. I knew what he liked and didn't like. I could predict him basically, and I also knew that he never made stuff up. One morning, he walks in, looks me dead in the eye, and goes, "You need to move your bed away from the window tonight." I laughed and asked him why. He says, "Because the man outside your house can reach you from there." Now, I hadn't told a single student where I lived. Not the neighborhood, not the street, and definitely not what my bedroom looked like. So I asked him, "What man are you even talking about?" This boy goes on to describe my house. The exact pale green I picked out for my bedroom walls, a color I never once mentioned to anyone at work. Then he describes the window right next to my bed, down to which side of the house it's on. I had to stop laughing now and ask him how he knows any of this. He just looks at me, totally calm, like he's reading off a grocery list, and says, "He's been watching you for 3 nights. But tonight, he's coming inside." I'm not into spooky stuff, but like I said, this kid never made things up. I had this weird feeling that he knew what he was talking about. I did not sleep at my place that night. I went over to my sister's and told her I just wanted company. I barely slept at her place either, honestly. Kept checking my phone, expecting a call from a neighbor or an alarm company or something. Nothing happened. No calls. Nothing at all. So I go home the next morning, telling myself I overreacted. A kid with a wild imagination said something creepy, and my brain ran with it because it happened to line up with real details. He could have picked up some other way. Then I walk up to my bedroom window from the outside, just to check. And I saw it. The screen's been cut open, big enough for a person, right along the bottom seam. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. He was right? I immediately called the police. They took photos, asked questions I didn't have great answers for, and said it looked deliberate. But unfortunately, there were zero suspects, no leads, and nothing ever came of it. I never told them about my student. I just didn't know how I'd explain that part without sounding insane. He came in the next day like nothing happened. I, on the other hand, moved my bed to the other wall within the week. I'll be posting more of these dark stories, so stick around. I'm Elias, and I'll see you soon. Stay strange.